finally, the recommendations that I came up with at the end of the paper was first to agree on an Arabic definition and translation of think tank. And I know that doesn't sound very relevant to policy impact analysis or assessment, but in order to define what exactly a think tank is doing, and to know what impact they're having, you have to know what you're working with. And I think that the definition, as I said before, that involves the public policy, the public sphere into decision making, is important to distinguish think tanks from governmental policy advisors. Next, I think it's important to systematically keep track of the intermediate products, which I said many of the think tanks who responded are already doing, but not systematically. Most of them reported they're doing it sporadically. So these would be the indirect indicators such as press clippings, citations, and internet tracking. Also then, for the next level of direct impact, it would be to focus on relationships in order to measure them, and that would be part of the matrix. Another recommendation, which I give more information on in the paper, is that before measuring impact, the international best practices is to start with the planning or outcome mapping. In order to have an idea of what you'll be measuring later, you start with the planning. Next, to collaborate on a baseline assessment, which is to have an idea, maybe one or two or three think tanks from each country in the GCC could do an initial impact assessment from which the others could learn and adapt their assessment mechanisms. And finally, to conduct policy tracing studies to better understand the policy-making process. Now, this is actually something that, as they mentioned, I work at the Islam Studies Institute in Lebanon, and we have done policy tracing studies to better understand the policy-making process. But it's a very different policy-making process there. So I think what a policy tracing study does is it looks at a policy that was passed, and it traces it back to its origins to see what were the key players and processes involved in the formulation of a policy. But I think that would have to be adapted quite a bit for this region. It is a recommendation, and I think that somebody should attempt. So this is what I came up with from my paper. Thank you very much again for having me here today, and I look forward to the discussion.